Hey, welcome to Neversink Farm, and I'm in the flower field, early season. Got some peonies growing, which are awesome. And I want to talk about which wire hoe to choose. And I want to discuss it from different perspectives, like which actual type of wire hoe, meaning like, you got a proletariat here, we've got mutineer, there's also a homemade wire hoe. Also, which head to choose. There's a whole bunch of different wire heads. And under what conditions, right, to choose the right head, right, or which wire hoe you want to choose based on, how close the vegetables are, or flowers in this case. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to touch is different wire hoes, right? They range from homemade version where you take a piece of wire and you clamp it to a stick. You can use a pipe clamp for that. You can screw it on. You can wrap it with wire again, whatever you want to do, and just make a homemade wire hoe. Great for if you got a home garden, you like making your own stuff. It's a great option. Then you move up to kind of a very simple wire hoe. And a very simple wire hoe can be one that is just clamped on with a bolt. These have been around for, over 100 years, is just a wire clamped on with a nut. And it's a very simple device. There's ones where you can actually change heads on them. Some where it just has one head and that you're not able to change them. Then ones where you actually can change them. And the proletariat is one of them. There's different width wire heads. And you just unbolt it and put a new head on it. I use these because they're incredibly inexpensive. I'll just throw them in hoop houses so they're there and ready for when I walk in and I see some weeds, I can just grab it at the end of the house. I don't go, I probably should cultivate in here sometime. And then I forget when I walk out of the house, right? If I'm gonna go and buy one off the tool rack. So I just keep it around for that. I love it for that. And I usually keep a 6-inch head on it. And then there's kind of premium wire hose, and the mutineer falls in that category where, the heads are very easy to remove. They last forever, and they comes with all types of different accessories. And I'm just going to talk about the simple accessories, okay? And just for going on to the next thing, which is which head and under which conditions, I'm going to use just the mutineer. And that's because it's so easy to change heads and easier to talk about. Okay, so the first thing, just so you know why it's here, this is the reach. Because I'm very tall and I like a long handle. And so what that is, it just adds some inches to the long handle so I can reach with it, reach over the bed, and I don't feel like it's a very short handle. I just like long handles. If you like long handles, that's a great option. What we have on here is we have the kit of standard sizes. Okay, so we have a 2-inch, 4-inch, 6-inch, and 8-inch. Now, if I'm just screwing around and walking around the garden, kind of what I call spot weeding, right? What I'll do is I'll just use a 4-inch, right? I know I'm going to be able to get in between stuff, right? Most importantly, I'm going to try to get really close to something. Like, let's take a look down here, right? So you see how we have weeds close to the flower? This way I know I'm not going to hurt the flower like if you did it with a scuffle hoe, right? Scuffle hoe can cause a bit of damage. They're great in certain circumstances, but when you got to get close to the plant, you see how I got that one? Okay, we'll see if we can find one even closer. See, we can get right next to it. Just like that, kill it, right here, see? I'm not gonna hurt it, that one's really close, boom, right? So I'll just take a 4-inch around and do some business, getting things that kind of were left over, and that's a spot cultivation. Now there's another head you can use during spot, and that's an offset. This is invented by Davis in the 80s. I know people love these things. I'm not a big fan. I don't really need to use the 1-inch. It's pretty much just a 1-inch and a 4-inch put on the same wire hoe. I don't really use it all that much because I'll have my setup wire hoe, like I said, in the hoop house. I like the 4-inch because this offset catches on stuff. And I don't like how it catches on things, either drip tape or plants and stuff. But you should give it a try because a lot of people swear by it. And you can use it to get close to the crop, just like that. And if you have things that are really close, like maybe spinach, you can use that 1 inch to get in between your crops, which is a nice feature. Okay. So the next thing is, right, get rid of that. Go back to the kit. Is if you're farming, most likely you are planting your crops on 30-inch beds, and then you're dividing it into 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows, 5 rows, 6 rows, right? And here we have 2 rows, common. Maybe do broccoli that way, kale. We're doing zinnias here. We have 3 rows, which perfect for big lettuce heads, celery, right? Do 4 rows. Might be moving into parsley or cilantro on 4 rows. 6 rows will be like spinach, etc. And they're usually straight and evenly spaced. And so that's where this comes in. So on 2 rows, I like to use the big 8-inch because I only want to go down the row once, right? So I'm going to come along, I'm going to get that 8-inch right in between the crops, right? And just run along there, right? And then I can also use it on the edges, right? Just like that. And you can go pretty fast because it's going to be pretty safe because you're just going to hit it with that. Here, take a look at all those weeds I got. See that? See, I can, because of that rounded edge, right? I can just bang into the crop and hopefully I'm not going to hurt him like I will with some other type, like a collinear or a stirrupo, right? And I can go right down the edge of the crop. Okay, so we'll give another example on 3 rows, right? So 3 rows, I can use the 6-inch. You can change these based on maybe you plant them closer or farther apart or on different type beds. Okay, so this is going to be even this way, and it's also going to be even this way, right? So it's going to be the same distance apart this way as it is this way, because that's how they're planted, right? So I can go down the row just like this, right? Or I can race along just like this, okay? Right? And that's the way to cultivate fast, right? And right along the edges, right? You know, you don't want to be doing this, right? Around the crops and all that stuff. It's just too slow, right? So just like that. Okay, so there's the 6-inch, right? And on. So if you have 4 rows on a bed, right? We'll be using the 4-inch. Then 6 rows on a bed, we use the 2-inch, and so on. Okay, so now I want to just talk about the last wire hoe type, and that's going to be one like this. Okay, this is a torsion weeder, which is the most important thing about a torsion weeder is that it springs easily, because what you want is when you're pressing on the ground is that it opens up and closes again. Okay, right? So an important feature is this spring here, which is, you know, without it, it just doesn't spring as well, I find. Okay, that spring right there. There are some idiots who brought out some without one of those, but I'm gonna be bothered with that. Okay, so these springs help a lot, right? In that it helps, you know, make sure because what they're doing is they're spreading apart and coming back again. Okay, that's why they're there. Okay, what you're really doing is, like, let's say you have long lines of stuff. Let's say you have carrots or spinach or paper pots even. This is great for paper pots where you're running down the line, right, and going around crops, right? And you see how I just got both weeds on either side, right? So you get nice and close. All right, so this is a paper pot row. Right? So you see how I can get right next to, you see, and it doesn't hurt them at all. Right? You see, I just go right down And one thing to do is I take the reach that's on here and I'm pointing it right at the cilantro, right? So I know where to, boom. Look at that. How beautiful is that? Okay, so that's the torsion. Great for paper pots, great for spinach, tight rows. All right, so whichever one you choose, I hope you do use a wire hoe, even if you're making one yourself, because they are really nice. Work really well. Thanks for watching.